Started the music a bit prematurely. Today I'm joined by Duhring and maybe Ittelson, and we're going to talk about some of the ways that CueCam can make video editing really fast, and we might nerd out about some naming stuff as well. And then that's after my updates. But first, let's have the title sequence so you can see what this is all about. Oh, I know I did. Oh, God. TV App Lab number 60. 4. This is Squares TV App Lab number 64, where I show you how to tie together your Mac, iPhone, and iPad, and all the apps I've been making and talking about via Squares TV. I'm Michael Forrest. I built Shoot, Video Pencil, and CueCam Presenter, and today I am joined by the Johns. If any of my links were working, guest one. Here's John. But I kind of want both of me.
Here?
Me and let's put this one. This should be
there.
Me as well.
Well, yeah. I don't see you.
How's it going?
There you are. Oh, good. It's great to see you. And there's another Sky. Sky's joined us in the breakout room, so that's great. Hello.
Hey, Sky. So do you just want to say, like, what I was going to ask is if you just want to say a couple of like things about who you are, because you've sort of appeared in my YouTube channel and sort of started making these short little videos, and you've been on here a couple of times, but I don't think you've really been introduced to, I know you know the Office Hours guys, but maybe some people that have come through in other routes to YouTube might not know who you are.
Well, I started out in publishing, so I think of myself as a book publisher, and but always on the edge of technology. So I got hired away from Printall to Apple and was an evangelist and played with early PowerPoint and things like that. And since then, I've been learning about using video as a way to tell stories and ways to attract audiences, and always attracted to going deep and not just to get an audience, but to connect. And what I'm finding is that these new tools are bringing that to life after 40 years. We're having a 40-year reunion of Super Mac coming up shortly. Um, so for me, learning to do video, and I did crew races of all things. I rode in college, and we put cameras along the course. We'd have volunteers, and then I'd splice together DVD tape and come up with something that I could, in Final Cut, put up into YouTube. And the next day, people could see it. And
So you've been
what?
so you've been doing this stuff for years, but you're still like really interested in learning the latest and greatest new ways of doing things as well. So yeah, it's really great to see.
It's something that, from the office hours side, there was a guy I was working with a Stanford publishing course, and we were building a payments platform, but teaching publishers how to use video. And there's a guy named Kenji Kato who was on our team, and he knew all about the Pixel Core. And we learned from Kenji so much about what is now in office hours. And he follows what we're doing, and he's at NASA now. So anyway, that sort of got me kickstarted into doing it, and running into you, Michael, has been sort of like, okay, look, one man band can now do stuff that was impossible for a team to accomplish in a short amount of time. And my thinking of AI, for instance, right now, is its big benefit is it gives you your time back. And that's really what we're doing here. And that's why I'm so excited. I am now championing the idea that video should be part of your email routine. That I created a video last week. I sent it out to 35 people. I've been getting deluged. I have more views on YouTube from that than anything that I posted on social media. So
Well, we
I
can
think
we'll
knowing
get
your
into that in a
audience
minute,
is all
won't we?
about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I
that's
think
what it's
the
about.
more niche, the more specific, the more likely you are to find people that respond. And this took me a few decades to figure that out. But yeah, let me do my updates, and then we'll come into you can sort of give us a bit more detail on that. And I'm hoping, yeah, we can come back to me. So, updates wise. I just heard a Discord message. I want to see if it's John. It's not. Okay. So I've got a couple of updates on Shoot, Video Pencil, and the CueCam Beta. So starting with Shoot, the new level monitor thing is now out. That just came a couple of hours ago. So now everyone has access to that. There's also some. You can switch the audio interface you're using, but it has limited use because you can't have two different audio. You can't have a different input interface to the output, which means that you can't send your microphone input over HDMI at the moment. So that did make me sort of brush the cobwebs off the NDI implementation and start having a look at that. And I'm actually nearly at the point where I can send it over NDI. It's in integer format. I need to turn it to floats, and I think it's just going to work. But yeah, this is just something I spent an hour or so on this week, and it's like, I can probably get this working. And then you'll be able to sort of use whatever mic and send it over NDI. But it's still not that good. The nice thing of having an HDMI, just being able to send it over HDMI, which is what I'd really like. But it just seems to be a system limitation of iOS that you have to have. And I saw this when I was working on the CueCam audio, that that it's got a special treatment for iOS where you have to select the same interface, whereas on Mac you can select whatever, and that's kind of how I'm doing the audio on Mac. And then the other thing, yeah, as I say, NDI audio progress. Video Pencil has some fixes on test flight. So I don't know if you'd noticed the magic wand. It used to have a little weird, it would have like a little red, it sort of looked a bit like this. It would sort of flicker a little bit of red sometimes when you were using it. But now it should be seamless. So it's just one of those things that I just kept noticing, and it was just bothering me. So that's up on test flight now. I actually did a bit I had an email about the geometric shape thing. I've made a little bit of progress on sort of, you draw a shape and then leave your finger there and it should neaten it up. which when I looked into it a couple of years ago now, and I was just reading this huge like machine learning paper, like trying to figure it out and like see what I needed to do. It was a big paper, but it was also kind of like it was from 2001 or something. So it was sort of like it was a bit of a headache. But then this time around, I realized I could just ask ChatGPT and sort of get a bit of code to get started with, and like. So now instead of like the kitchen sink, it's like, okay, all I really need is circles, rectangles, triangles. I don't need loads of different shapes to be recognized. And actually so all it is, I mean, I'll tell you what the algorithm is. It's like you take a sort of wiggly shape, you try to simplify that based on corners to like a really neat shape. And then if it's a square, all the angles add up to like 360 degrees. If it's a triangle, they all add up to, no, is it 390, 180? Yeah, 360. If it's a triangle, they should all add up to, if you measure these angles, they should all add up to 180. If it's a circle, then most of the points should be like close, like a similar radius. So it's not like amazingly complicated. And I can sort of show you, the trouble is that, I haven't got it working yet. And if we have a look at, if I turn on should recognize shapes, it's like I can draw a shape, but like you see the shape that it's filling in is its attempt to simplify things, but you see it's kind of doing it wrong, and it's once in a while I can get it to work for a square, but most of the time it's like circles are really bad. And then so I've been just tweaking about and trying to figure out how that's going to work. So we've got a little bit of progress on that. So I'll just turn that off again because it can be a bit distracting. And then the other thing, I was going to do a whole like draw a shape to spotlight things. So say you're like on your desktop. Oops, I shouldn't have shared. Let's find like something that we want to share. So I wanted to have this thing where I can just spotlight a window that I want to share and start sort of drawing on it. And so this is something something I've been working on a little bit. Just as I think tutorials would be really good, but first I thought, just draw arbitrary shapes, but actually it's generally just going to be a rectangle, so that simplifies that a lot. You just sort of draw from top to bottom diagonally, and you can get like a rectangle. But the other thing is, what I really want it to do now is when I do that, it like crops in on that area and lets me draw on it, and then when I clear it like crops back out again. So I want to be able to do a tutorial where I just sort of like draw around a window, it zooms in on that window, I can sort of point out the things. When I press clear, it kind of zooms back out again from the screen share. So this is just something I've been tinkering with. It's something I'll probably use for my next round of tutorials because it's just really useful to have that there. But yeah, that's progress on Video Pencil. CueCam, all the changes, the beta changes from last week are available now. And then, so I've just been working on some final pre-launch bug fixes. So it's been going sort of I've sort of got it from this, and then this was, what's this? This is 11th of April, my list. This is the 16th of April list. And then, let's have a look. This is the 19th of April list. Oh, sorry, I should not have my eyes visible when I'm showing this. And then this is the today list. So we're slowly getting there. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. It's almost getting to stuff that I could launch with these little bugs because it's still better than it was, rather than loads of stuff's just broken, which it was for a while there. The other thing is, a friend of mine said, I was like, I need to redo all the documentation for the new version of CueCam. And he was like, just write a blog post. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll write a blog post. And so I spent Monday writing a blog post, which is 5,000 words long. And it's, so it turned into a different thing. It was sort of turned into a bit of an explanation of why. I sort of talk about some technical stuff, and then I sort of talk about some of the changes I've made. So I've done one draft on that, and I need to just go back and sort of do a second draft to make sure it's sane. But it's something I do recommend to anyone who is a writer is, and this is a Dan Harmon thing, the creator of the Story Circle. He says just always do a whole draft. Like, never like stop halfway through a draft. Don't stop halfway through a chapter. Don't stop halfway through your script, because it's so hard to like pick up the thread again from halfway through. You've got it all in your brain. So I just spent all day, like, 7-8 hours on Monday just like writing this blog post, and I just need to get through it all to the end. Whether it's any good doesn't matter. It just needs to be like a full draft, and then I can go back and edit. But if I stop halfway through, I'm never going to finish this thing. So yeah, just advice for writing, and this is what CueCam is all about anyway. Quick note about eCam. We're on eCam for a start, because we tried the thing, the group thing on Zoom, and I couldn't control who was coming where. I did upgrade to Zoom 6 today actually, and I really like the sort of multi-spot like they've added, and maybe that would have made it work better. But I'm finding like, I was like, I need to have my switcher and a bit more control over this if I'm going to have guests. So I've sort of like shelled out some more cash to eCam again, to be able to use interview mode again, which I did miss. But it does mean now that I've got a lot more control over when John comes in, and so this is the plan. But of course they announced their Zoom integration this week. Problem with that for now is you still need a Zoom license as well as your eCam license now, which is like, that's another 30 quid a month kind of thing that I don't really want to be spending. Plus there's a lot of caveats in terms of licensing and resolution and all that kind of thing, whereas sort of the interview mode is pretty handy, that you can just sort of give someone a browser link, and that will just they'll just be able to use that. It'll just be fine. So yeah, like, it's interesting, but what it did make me think, oh, maybe I should integrate Zoom into CueCam as an interview mode. But then the more they talked about it with Andy on their live stream, Andy Carluccio and the eCam guys, I was like, this is going to be, I'm going to get the video stuff working quickly, and then I'm just going to have a nightmare like handling all the edge cases of, oh, you haven't got this resolution, you haven't got this license, oh, the time limit elapsed, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. Chat, like, I think that it could just end up taking a year, right? Like it did for eCam. Yep. I'm sort of like looking at it, side-eyeing it, thinking, yeah, maybe not. Also, like, we're kind of in office, we're in the after hours breakout room, and I have no idea if it would solve that problem either. I think it would just sort of be a similar situation. But anyway, that I've been looking at it. But yeah, let's go over to John. If it's gonna, like, I've got my scenes. If I can I had all my scenes set up on my Stream Deck, and it's being very unpredictable. I'm going to bring John back. Oh yes, John, you just need to switch your main camera and switch it back, and that will fix that. We discovered some fun new issues this week when we tried to use interview mode, which was that if another app mucks about with the camera resolution that's coming in oh no. Okay, I would just drop out and drop back in. Try okay. Yeah, I would just drop out of CueCam and drop back in. We found that if something else accesses the camera, even if they don't use it, then it sort of messes with the format that's coming into CueCam, and I'm not handling that very well. So that's just something I need to troubleshoot, and then we can bring John back, and he should be looking okay again. But we know the workaround for now, and we'll get the fix in. And I just want to make sure that when I press solo, so we're going to be this is you. So when I press this button, I want it. It's just soloing me instead of you. So I'm just going to put you on, John, and I'm going to let you talk about what you were going to talk about.
Well, thank you. And given all the caveats that we just went through, let's move on this little story. And, that was new. I went into the countdown. I don't want that. Okay, come on. Here we go. So I did a project over the weekend, and in order to put this story together, I was walking yesterday, and in ChatGPT, I just sort of said, okay, first I had to capture footage, and that means stills, and that means video, and that means miking, and I put all those, I need to get them into a media bin. I'm going to try and... These things are ChatGPT going the wrong way, so we actually want everything going into a media bin. So let me go here, and I use AirDrop. So the wonderful thing, one of the wonderful things about using CueCam is that it uses Apple's ecosystem to the max. So this is actually what I got, and it's pretty ugly. You can't tell what these things are until you airdrop them. And so stills, video, airdrop them, they land in the Finder. And then I go into what I call chop block, that what's in each of these pieces. And it's not clear, but in the Finder, you can do a quick look on every little thing. So I just stay in the Finder. Right here is my Finder window. And I'm going to switch so I can just demonstrate this. So this is the footage that I got. And, I can go to one of these things and quick look and play it and say, no, I don't want that shot. It's simple as that. And it just saves hours. It seems so simple, and yet it's huge. So from there, I want to assemble a storyboard. And that's where CueCam comes in. I just drag things into a timeline or not into a timeline, I'm sorry, into a CueCam stack, or however we call the cards. And I assemble them based on, this is what I've got. And this is the sequence. And the story starts taking shape. So I tag things. And this is a referee interview. This is really simple stuff. And my timeline actually looks like this is my window. I need to go here, and I need to go. This is a recreation of my my stack. And it's just, here are announcers, and here is the video that shows those announcers. And I can go in and do fun things, like there's something here with a guy whose voice was really low. And I can say, I need to boost his, boost his audio. So there's these little rough cuts. So I get a block of stuff that I can use. And then I'm ready to write out the script. And what am I going to be saying in each of these pieces? What titles am I going to put on to explain, do I need a title here? Do I not need a title here? And record and practice and record. And to have the recorder built into CueCam, this just created a set of files that I go, okay, I'm getting close. This is what I want to be saying in the script. This is how I want the titles to look. And in the end, I just have a very long recording with my words and take one, take two, or script, or here's what I want. But it hangs together. I think I had a 20-minute piece. And this is a look at it. And I put it into my editor. And so my editor has this very long, it's got all this stuff from CueCam in on it. And all I have to do in the editor is chop and make it sound good. And in the end, I then transcribe. I want all the words that were spoken in my final piece. I send it up to YouTube, actually, as unlisted. I have it then wait and then transcribe. Then I take that transcription and I put it into ChatGPT, and I say, make a description of this. Give me 6 headlines to choose from. And then I'm finally ready to create an email or whatever it is, social media, and I'm ready to now publish. So that sharing is the publishing side. Everything before it is prelude. And that is my story.
There was some pretty good. I mean, there was some usable ChatGPT images in that one. I thought. Like, I see that you went for the sort of sketchy style as well. You said, "Give me sketch versions of everything."
Yep.
But yeah, like, so so I think the difference between the way you're using it and the way I picture using it is you're not really putting a lot of stuff in the cards as you go. So the way I approach this is I'm sort of refining my language in the cards and doing a recording and like coming back and doing another recording, which means that when I record it, I get that sort of I can send ChatGPT the card content to summarize what I said, and sort of cut out that step of uploading and coming back. And then I'll use Descript to, like, if I'm going to edit something, I'll just use that. You could just drag the video file in. You get the text, and you could just like edit the text and sort of get the bits you want. But definitely, yeah. So I think having a really good solid sort of main timeline with most of this, like, I guess you're making pretty minimal edits, right? Like, you're just like, is it that you're tidying up transitions, or is it that you're like just taking out some ums and ahs, or like what sort of editing are you tending to do on there?
Yeah, I hate editing. I mean, timelines are not my friend. Put a layer on top of something and then you change something down below, or, you know, put different audio tracks together and all that kind of thing. I don't want to do. And so all of that is pretty much done inside CueCam. It's much better. So I get the sounds I want, I get the sequences I want, but the ums and the transitions are sometimes the cut points, because usually I get what I think I want, and then I run a trial and I go, God, I used that word twice. Oh, that was redundant. I didn't realize it. And so, okay, am I going to use this piece with it? Am I going to use that piece with it? It's the things that start, like I said, that timeline was 20 minutes. The piece was 6 minutes, which is really long for me. That's about as far as I want to go. But it had in it, this is the referee talking about their job and they're recruiting to get more people to be referees. This is a look at the media truck where they've got a drone in the sky and they've got, announcers and they've got camera out on the course. And then here are people I rode with 50 years ago, and they're telling me their stories. And in all of that, I didn't know what I had when I came home. And in the end, it was the stories that they were telling. And oh yes, there was a race, and it was a very important race. 2 top crews, but I only get 10 seconds out of something that goes for 6 minutes. So there they go. That was the JV. There they go. That was the varsity. The live stream from the Pac-12 networks picked up the racing beautifully. This story was about all those other people that come together, even they bring their families, it's a real mingling opportunity. And I think that is part of the reason that I've got 200 views now. I sent it to 30 people. It's hello. And now the YouTube algorithm is kicking in because the 30 people looked at it multiple times. No two ways about it. That was great. And then it kept going. And in my analytics, I see, YouTube suggestions. So if you have a core group of your true fans, let's call it that, or whatever it is, your real friends, it means something to them, then it will mean something to other people as well. So that's...
Yeah. I've always found, this kind of works across the board, I think. It's always someone that I've talked to recently that comes to the gig I play that next week. It's always the person
That's
that I had
right.
coffee with last week that comes. And I think it's the same. Like if you if you broadcast that I've made this new video, which, I've done hundreds of times at this point, I feel like, people it washes over people. But if you have directly emailed someone and said, "Hey, I've got this new video," and especially if it's specific to them, that's definitely the way to get someone to look at it like that. Oh, right, that's got me in it, or that's the thing that I was at. And then this was the biggest thing I learned. Like, and I've learned this from doing business on my own, from starting up. Making an app that was something that I thought I could do a really good job of. I'd spent years kind of figuring out how I was going to improve the interface. I'd had some encouraging stuff 10 years ago, but it was like I was shooting for like a mass audience, and it meant that I ended up doing a lot of work and like not appealing to anyone in particular. And that is the opposite of what you need to do, especially as a solo founder, where you need to sort of find something that's very specific to a very certain audience of people, and just like make them happy, and then other people will be attracted to that. And I've realized made the same mistake with art, with music, with like, I'm trying to make, I really regret, I've got this song called You Can Do Without, and I really regret changing it from like this being about like this sort of, what is it, gear acquisition syndrome kind of thing, like, oh, I need this other thing in order to make this song, I need this other synth, I need this other plugin, to being like just about sort of general consumerism and addiction and stuff. And I thought, oh, I need to make this more general, and I actually regret not making it more specific. And it's the same lesson. Like, you want people to pay attention to you, you have to sort of talk to them pretty directly. I think you're seeing that. I think you're doing it the right way around. You're not sort of wasting your time trying to broadcast some like mass audience thing. You're seeing like results.
Doing it in the dark. I mean, when I did this 3 weeks ago, there was another race, and I just took I'm taking only my iPhone and a DJI mic, the little wireless mic that in Bluetooth, the Blackmagic app connects to it, and I get audio. So that changes me into becoming a filmmaker and I sort of shot, and I sent out, here's what happened at the Stanford race. And I sent it out to this group that I had rode with 40, 50 years ago. And they wrote back and said, be there at the Washington race. I want to see that. And I went, oh, I have an audience. I didn't know I had an audience. I just wanted to say, hey guys, look what I did. And now they came back with, give me more. So my thought wasn't that I was producing something for them. It was that, oh, they're not here. They can't see this. On the Stanford race, I just was at the start. Here's the start of this race. Here's the start of that race. But here's some behind the scenes. And I got such a positive response, went back and did it. So starting small, in my head were the emails that I got where somebody said, get there, I want to see it. And I went, okay, I'm doing it for him. I'm doing it for that person. And there were a couple of them. And now this time there's been a real list of emails of people who are saying, oh, this is really an audience. And now it's going a little bit beyond that group, which, when you interview somebody, it's really important to say, I'm going to publish this. Are you okay with that? And my buddies are going, get out of here with that microphone. I mean, they did not want to be on the internet. So the ones that got published were ones that were, they knew that this was going to be the game. But it's a tricky business, as everybody who's done this knows. And my job has been to melt all the gear down to the smallest entity and use a publishing head about who's it for, what I might get out of it, how do I address that value, in the experience that I have. And whether I'm a college professor writing a textbook or doing research reports or magazine, it's all about that. It's really how am I adding value to that audience?
Who are you talking to? Who am I talking to? Can I picture them? Can I communicate with them? Can I speak their language? That kind of thing. So yeah. I'm hearing I didn't want to sort of interrupt your flow, but we're having some pretty the YouTube videos like super pixelated. And I know it's like what I'm seeing is okay, and it looks like earlier in the stream it was okay. So I was just gonna, oh my god, yeah, it's sort of like super pixelated. So I was just gonna like try just dropping off eCam, and I think that's risky. I think this is going to be a pixelated stream, people. Sorry. So it just means we can't really show anything too small. I don't know what's happened there. Maybe it's because I'm multi-streaming. But like, it's not like eCam said, "Oh, I've dropped the bitrate down" or anything like that. So I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, Neil. Very weird. When you were talking about so yeah, this is interesting because like I've made a tool in CueCam for, usually for an individual to sort of present, sort of write and present. What you're doing is you're sort of like collaging footage that you're sort of capturing in the field, trimming it, putting it together, which is a bit less like that. You can, I mean, you should probably be writing your kind of like your intros and your anything, some of the stuff you want to say where you want to like do a proper intro and like put a bit of background in, all that kind of thing. CueCam can really support you with. And then like trimming out, you can trim down a bit of B-roll and maybe sort of loosely trim it so that then when you take it into the edit you can just snip it down. But yeah, it is a different thing to what I was to how I pictured it. But we can call, I think what we can call this, our list of cards, we can call it a deck. I think, like, right? It's a deck with some like things attached to it and some like text on the cards, right? So these are our attachments. This is our sort of content and notes. But yeah, I think like being able to, I think it's a more human way of looking at structure than like, because when you got a timeline, the length of the, if it's something could be really important, but it could be really small, because like, you could have something, a really long bit, and then you could have one little thing, but like that could be key, but it sort of, everything gets sort of like turned into how long it is in terms of time rather than in terms of meaning. And I think like being able to have cue cards means it's a more human sort of atom of meaning to be able to assemble your stuff in. And I think you're finding that in terms of sort of being able to put, I want this, then this, then this, and I just want to see three things. I don't want like, this, then this, then this, but this first thing is like 6 different things and it's chopped together, and then this second one is really short so you can't see it when you're zoomed out, and you can't tell the difference between this clip and this previous one, which is 6 clips. Oh, now I've got to group it, but now that causes other problems with my editing workflow, and all that kind of thing. I think having the cards is powerful. But when we were talking about this, you sort of gave me this, another idea for a kind of a workflow that comes more from music production, where what I was thinking about was when you press record in CueCam, I could just track those against that deck, and then you could have like some cards like this, and you might have like 3 takes of this one, 3 takes of this one, and you could just say, okay, I want this take of this one, I want this take of this one, I want this take of this one, I'm going to record like 3 more takes of this card, and sort of so instead of like at the moment, really to use CueCam effectively, you sort of have to go through the whole thing in one go, which is fine when it's live, and it's fine when it's not too long. But as we were talking about on Monday, I think with John, was like, sometimes you get some magic in that first take that you can never get back to. And I often sort of think, I just sort of ad-libbed that really well, and I wish I've got to remember to do that every time now, and that can be difficult. But if we could, I'm seeing now, just from hearing you talking about it and hearing how you're using it, like we could sort of like make those cards really do some work with, I think, a minimal amount of technical work. And then instead of just sort of the best take, you can sort of like, before you even export it, like before you even save it out to your editor, just sort of go, okay. And just, I think what you were doing, because you can already do a version of this. I think you were talking about, were you talking about this? Like you can record a video to each card. So you could just record the takes to the cards at the moment. So you could sort of get that effect already. So if you didn't want to sort of like...
But when you do that now, you end up with lots of little movies that it's a pain in the butt to drag them all into, just getting them from the desktop into the editor's media bin, and then from the media bin onto the timeline. And so there's sort of this breakout of scenes, shots, and timeline. And, that we want your cards basically create scenes. And I can have multiple shots.
Well, they don't create scenes, though. They're not scenes. That's an eCam and OBS thing. We don't do scenes. But
these words are crazy. But yes, there's a difference between here's what I want to say, and here are the various attempts to say it. And then from that, to be able to extract a linear file that you can drag easily into an editor to clean up. That's sort of where, all the sequencing things and all of the little fine tuning, to me, I say it differently each time, and I say, and it's not like this is better than that. It's like I touch on something that I didn't touch on before. And I end up with something where I go, oh, that makes sense. That doesn't. In the whole, after I'm back on the timeline, I can say that this whole piece hangs together if I say it here and not there. And that's fine. That's what a timeline's for.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess for now you could just sort of like, press record and just like play through each card, couldn't you? And sort of like get that one file. But yeah, I think what you're going to find is I'm about to do some tutorials, and if I'm like, God, this would be so much easier if I could just X, and then I spend the morning just making that happen. This may be something that just appears, and then that may sort of like give you more, start using it wrong in other ways. And I look forward to seeing how you use it weirdly in other ways.
That is my experience, Michael, in working with you, is I say something about what I do that's completely different than what you do. And, now it's in CueCam. And so the benefit is undeniable. I mean, I feel like so much of this has been because someone like me has said, hey, I need this. And you're listening. And because you don't have a bunch of overhead, the implementation of these things happens in record time.
Yeah, and it's the thing I've learned. Like, if I know you want something, if I know this person wants something, I know at least one person's going to be happy about it. And for a long time, that wasn't how I was working, because I was used to, either it's a client, so you're just like, it's a completely different animal when you're working for a client through an agency, and they want this perfection thing, and they everything's planned out. But like when it comes to me as a solo business owner, it's just important that I've built too much stuff without even knowing who it's for, other than me. And this is just like, just having another person to sort of like check everything against is just so important. I think it's just leading to stuff that's just more useful and more interesting, and more sort of emergent stuff comes out of it. But yeah, we're sort of, I think we can sort of like wrap up pretty soon. It's a shame John couldn't make it. But like it does mean that we probably skipped the naming stuff conversation. But I think we had I think we covered plenty of stuff. So what I'm gonna say is, shall we? Yeah, like yeah, thanks for coming on, John. It's been a really fun chat. Thanks for I enjoyed your deck. Yeah, it's nice to see how quick. I said, oh, could you sort of like put some, and you sort of threw together that deck very, you got lots of pictures in there I saw, and like that looked fun to make. Were you using the new image prompts, or were you sort of going away and making your own images? I know I haven't got the stuff yet really to make that easy yet.
No, I mean, part of this conversation is about the time you get back
Hmm.
and the idea that I did a 6 minute piece. And I think I went there in the morning until noon with my camera, went home, had lunch, made coffee, took a walk, did some work, but then had dinner. And then by 7:30 that evening, I had published. So my actual time working on it may have been 3 hours, maybe, and it would have taken me a weekend
Hmm.
ordinarily or more. And what you asked for before, hey, why don't you come on and do this? I actually had thrown away my whole deck of cards. And so I recreated that and very quickly. And using ChatGPT, I was taking a walk and talking into the phone and saying,
Hmm.
okay, give me a sketch on capturing media or storyboarding media. And it gave me a sketch, and I just used what it gave me. I didn't try and fine tune anything. And then it told me what it was about, and that became my talking points
Hmm.
in my script. So, time saved. I mean, that was yesterday in the morning, and I think I got to it again while there was a basketball game on, and I put together the presentation. The lighting was the main thing. Getting this
Hmm.
as a green screen, I had to get that right. That's the hardest part. So,
Hmm.
this is the goal. I want to have it
Yeah.
so you can have an idea, be able to generate something and deliver it and then get feedback. That's
Yeah. And not waste your whole weekend. It's the watching
oh,
back that really makes it take forever. And if you sort of like just can go through it and then like you're there, well, you know that there's nothing that you weren't there for that happened. You can watch it back and you can check. But like when you're editing and watching back and editing and watching back and editing and checking that you haven't like messed it up, it takes so long. So yeah, you've gone from a weekend to like a couple of hours, 3 hours, and you got something that people like. And this is what we're trying to do. Like we want to be able to do the thing and then talk about it. Basically, talk about it on the internet, which I think video is the key to talking about on the internet and just being able to show what you're doing. And with CueCam, I'm trying to make that easy to do without having to sort of like set up a load of scenes, set up a load of sort of temporary content, set up, I just want you to be able to like, I want to share this. Okay, then I want to share this. Okay, then I want to say this. Okay, then I want to show this. And like, I just want that to be the way you approach it because that's how we think about it. I don't want you to be going, oh, I need to set up a thing that plugs into the thing. Oh, I need to make a thing. Like I don't want it to be. I don't want you to get bogged down in all the technicalities. Of course, you always will as you're getting lighting. You're doing lighting. You're doing this and that. But the more we can sort of like sort of more of those steps we can take out of the equation than that is out of the journey.
well, and on my
Yeah, the
side of
better.
it, it's in the old days, early email. If you wanted to, my feeling is I gave reports professionally,
Mm,
give me a report on X, Y, or Z. This feels very similar in that
mm,
I got so that I could use email to do a trip report in about the time that I just did a report to YouTube on this event. And that equivalent has been crossed. I am now, rather than writing an email, I'll do a video. And even including, let me get this piece or that. If it's something that I can get on my desktop, I don't have to shoot anything. It's CueCam can just capture it and I can talk to it and let me show you how to do this. I mean, technical support, engineering.
Yeah.
I mean, all these areas. I think engineering teams are ready to go
Yeah.
beyond just sitting and talking heads in meetings and have one
Yeah. Yeah.
person present to a bunch of people who are sitting on their tails. And, you've got a tool that's well within the capabilities of those people.
Yeah. I think, like, actually, this is the thing. Sometimes it's so much quicker to speak than it is to formulate an email. Like, you can spend a morning writing an email. So I think you're seeing, like, oh, there was more technical overhead to doing just speaking and getting that on video. But now that that's sort of come down, it's sort of like, it can be quicker than sort of figuring out how to say something. If you can just, like, press record, spend 3 minutes recording it, send it to someone, and then they've got it. Like, for things like that, it's really, I think we may it's just much easier, isn't it? And especially if they could do the same. Like, you could you could sort of really get a fast back and forth, and because it's hard to write an email because there's all the boilerplate and this and that and the other. But if you can just speak, like if you just were in a room with someone, you wouldn't do all that. And so I think that's it. I see Anderson says, let's go over. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That he just dropped in. Any thoughts on the new eCam integration with Zoom? I did touch on it earlier. So yeah, you can have a look a bit earlier in the video. I think it's cool. It was like, shall I do this more than am I going to use this? Because I did sort of jump back into interview mode today because we were trying to sort of live stream from Zoom before and it was very unpredictable. So I'm sort of back in eCam interview mode, but it's good to know that they've got that string to their bow now as well, and we can bring people in on Zoom. But it looks like it was a lot of work, and I'm like, do I want to enter into that into that arena too, or shall I just let them enjoy it? But yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. Let me just come up with our end screen. Squares TV /Discord is where you can find us. Find me when I'm asleep. Find other people to help me when I'm asleep. And you can email me, Michael@Squares TV. And John is posting stuff on this channel. So subscribe and, you can like this video. I know it was weirdly pixelated. I don't know if anyone's watching on LinkedIn. If I don't really see anything, then I might save myself the bandwidth, and maybe that's why, because of multi-streaming, it might just be like destroying the quality, which I feel like it should be telling me that. I feel like it usually does, but maybe I overrode it somehow and it's just like collapsing the codec instead of like reducing the resolution. So sorry about the resolution. And it does mean that the thing I'm going to play us out with, so thank you so much, John, for joining me today. The thing that to play us out is a song from back in 2012, which I did as a 24-hour remix competition, and then the video I did the next day in 24 hours as well. So I'm just gonna let this whole thing play. You're probably not going to be able to see it very clearly. But it is also on my YouTube channel if you want to see the real one. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me, John, and everyone that's on the stream, and you for watching it in future as well. Cheers.